You've got about 6 different lives open in tabs right now, and you haven't committed to a single one. There's the version of you that goes all in on the business, the one that finally takes the creative things seriously, the one that moves cities, locks in on the relationship, picks the path, and you keep all of them open, have a life, because the second you fully choose one, the others die, and that feels like a loss you're not ready to take. I moved to Copenhagen and went all in on building a business and this channel. I now make less money than I did a year ago. Committing to this meant closing the door on the safe, stable, good paying version of my life. And I'll be honest with you, I still haven't fully closed that door. I'm still job hunting on the side, so I'm not preaching this from the finish line. I'm telling you about a hallway I'm still standing in. Because here's the thing, a life with every door open isn't freedom. That's a hallway. And you can spend your entire 20s standing in it, surrounded by doors, feeling full of infinite potential, and never once walk into a room and actually live there. The sentence, keep your options open, or any variation of that, is advice you've probably heard throughout your whole life. And a lot of people don't really question it, because it sounds so reasonable, so mature. Don't rush, don't limit yourself. Stay flexible, bro. Wait until you're sure. But watch what it actually does in practice. You never fully commit to the job, so you never get good enough at it to really like it. You never commit to the person, the project, the path, because committing means giving up all the shiny alternatives, and you'd rather hold them as maybes than lose them as no's. And here's what I want to be clear about, because it's not a character flaw. That instinct is protective, because every door you leave open is a life you haven't had to grieve yet. That's a completely human thing to want. The problem is just that maybes don't build anything. A starter you never chose never levels up, and a party of 6 different Pokémon all sitting at level 5, because you couldn't commit to a team, loses to the first gym every single time. So that strategy you had as a kid with only using your starter actually had some merit to it. Now here's the part that took me a long time to understand, because on the surface this looks like indecision, and it really isn't. The real reason you won't close a door is not the fear of failure, it's grief. When you finally commit to one path, you don't just pick a thing, you kill all the other versions of yourself that were living down the other hallways. The you that wanted to study music instead of chemistry. The you that moved abroad to the UK and never came back. The you with the completely different life, different city, different person. Choosing one means holding a quiet little funeral for all the others. And nobody wants to do that. So you keep every version of yourself alive by refusing to fully become any of them. You've got a whole graveyard's worth of potential selves that you're keeping on life support, and the machine you're using to keep them breathing is your actual singular real life. That's the trade you don't realize you're making. You're spending the one life you definitely have to keep a dozen imaginary ones on standby. So you're not indecisive, you're just in mourning avoidance. Every open door is a death you're refusing to grieve, and the cost of not grieving it is that you never get to fully live anywhere. Those other lives are going to die anyway, whether you choose or not. Time closes doors. That's just what time does, quietly, without asking for permission. The version of you that moves abroad at 22 has a shelf life. The one that starts the band, the one that goes back to school, the one that takes a wild risk. A lot of those doors are already softly clicking shut while you stand in the hallway, congratulating yourself on keeping them open. You think you're the one holding all the doors open, you're not. Time is walking down the corridor behind you, locking them one by one, and it does not care that you haven't decided yet, which means the choice was never keep them all alive versus let some die. That was never on the menu. The real choice is this: close a few doors on purpose and actually walk into one of the rooms, or refuse to choose and stand in the hallway while every door locks itself, and you end up with none of the rooms and a fistful of maybes you never spent. Refusing to choose is still a choice. It's just the one where you lose all the doors and get nothing behind any of them. It's the worst possible outcome dressed up as the safest one. So what do you actually get when you close a door? Because it has to be worth the grief or nobody would do it. You get depth, and depth is the one thing the hallway can never give you. You cannot get truly good at a skill you're not really focused on. You cannot build real intimacy with a person you're keeping filed under this is an option. You cannot level a Pokemon you swap out every time. Everything good is on the other side of a closed door. That's the cruel irony of the open options life. It feels rich, there's infinite potential, or at least the illusion of that, and so many possibilities. And it's actually thin. You're watching the trailers for a dozen lives and never sitting through a single film. A hallway full of thumbnails. Committing feels like losing possibility, but what you're really doing is trading a breath you are never going to use for a depth you actually get to live inside. By deciding to move in with my partner, I had to close a lot of doors. The doors of me being single and free and not having to care as much about another person. But with that has come a lot of fulfillment and unbelievable experiences in Norway at the trip we just went to. Life experiences I will never forget and will never take for granted, because I decided to close doors down the hallway. And this is just an example of what happens when you decide to close a bunch of the doors and accept reality and just go into one of the rooms. Now, let me draw a line here, because there's a dumb version of this message and I don't want you leaving with it. This is not commit to the first thing you see and never change course. Some doors should stay open while you're genuinely gathering information and exploring. Going on a few dates, trying a few sources, running a real trial, that's healthy exploration and it's different from what I'm talking about. Here's the tell that separates the two. Real exploration has a specific end date and it produces a specific decision. The hallway has neither. If you've been keeping your options open on the same choice for 2 years, that's not research, buddy. Exploration is a scouting mission. When you're done scouting, you have no need to stay in the hallway anymore. And closing a door isn't always forever. Some you can reopen later, but you have to actually walk fully through one of them now, and give it enough of you that it has a chance to become something. You can't do that with 1 foot still in the corridor. So practically, how do you get out of the hallway? Here are 4 moves you can use to do that. Number 1 is name the room. Not all 6 options, but the one you actually want to be in. For me right now, I've decided to be in a work season where I focus more on this channel and my business. So I've decided to name it my work season. If you genuinely can name it, that's the work you have to put in and figure out, and that's a whole different video which we won't discuss here, but be honest about whether you don't actually know or you're just scared to say it out loud. Number 2 is close 1 door on purpose this week. Pick one of your maybes you've been keeping alive out of fear and consciously let it die. Say it out loud, I'm not doing that one. And yeah, it's supposed to sting a little because you're closing the door to something you would potentially like to do, but in service of something you'd like to do even more. Number 3 is take all the energy you are spending holding 6 doors open, which is way more energy than you realize, and then pour it all into the room you chose. Number 4 is give that room a real trial with an actual endpoint. Commit for a defined stretch of time, go all in and then evaluate. It could be 2 weeks, it could be a month, it could be 2 months, something that you can actually stick to test it for yourself. That's the difference between playing the game and standing at the character select screen forever. So here's what I'd leave you with. The hallway feels safe because nothing there can ever be lost. But that's exactly the problem, because nothing there can ever be lived either. You don't actually have infinite potential. You have one finite life and a set of doors that are quietly closing on a schedule you don't control. That's the thing that should get you moving. Close a couple on purpose, grieve them properly, they deserve that, and then walk into a room and fully own that, instead of spending your best years as a very hopeful, very stuck man in a corridor. And I'm saying this to myself as much as to you, because I've still got that 1 door cracked. And part of why I made this is to finally make myself decide about it. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's 1 door you've been keeping cracked out of fear? Name it and tell me whether you're going to walk through it or close it, because keeping it open a little longer is not on the menu anymore.